Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS writing task 2. We are going to focus on how to write an agree, disagree type of essay. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to write the main body and the conclusion. In the previous lesson, we learned how to write the introduction of this particular lesson. We learned how to write the background statement and the thesis statement for the introduction. If you want the complete essay, I recommend that you watch the video on how to write the introduction and then you watch this video on how to write the main body and the conclusion. Now, before we begin this lesson, I would like to give you some information about IELTS writing task 2. The first thing that is important to remember is that you get 40 minutes to write your essay. 40 minutes. You are supposed to write more than 250 words. If you're aiming for a band 8 and a band 9, then you should write 300 words. When it comes to your IELTS writing task 2, it is worth about 66% of your total writing marks. The rest of the marks go to IELTS writing task 1. You will be marked on task response, that is how well you have responded to all the parts of the question. You will be marked on coherence and cohesion, that is how well you have organized your paragraphs, how well you have used linking words to link your ideas in your paragraphs. You will be marked on vocabulary, that is how well you have used the vocabulary that is suitable for the topic to write your essay. And finally, you will be marked on grammar, that is your sentence structures, your tenses, your subject-verb agreement, plural and singular, prepositions, phrasal verbs, and so on. Now, the other thing that is important to remember is the academic writing task 2 is a formal essay. And you could get very many different types of essays for your task 2. You could be asked to write an opinion, a discussion, an advantage-disadvantage type of essay, direct questions, and you could even get solution type of essays. I have actually uploaded all the videos on all the different types of formal essays that you could get for your task 2. So have a look at my playlist on writing task 2 for more details about that. I have also a playlist on writing task 1. So if you want more essays on task 1, then just have a look at my playlist on task 1. Now, the other thing that is important to remember is the general training writing task 2 is exactly the same as the academic IELTS task 2. The essay is written in the same way and the scoring is the same. The only difference is that the general training essay questions are often easier and the topics are simpler. So when it comes to writing task 2, it is the same for the general training and the academic IELTS students, meaning that this essay is for both academic and the general training students. Now, I think you're well informed about writing task 2, so we could get into our lesson. But before we do that, if you find this lesson helpful, then please do not forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Remember, it is bad karma to benefit from something and not give something back. It just brings you bad luck in life. So please, once you have watched this video, give this video a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who may need it. Now let's get into our question. So we are going to learn how to write the main body and the conclusion. The most important thing is to make sure that you understand the question. The question is, prevention is better than cure. Researching and treating diseases is too expensive, so it would be better to invest in preventative measures. To what extent do you agree? Let's go slowly. Prevention is better than cure. That is an English proverb that means that it is better to prevent something. It is better to stop something from happening than to wait until it has happened. Prevention is better than cure. I explained that proverb very clearly in the introduction. So have a look at the introduction. In the background statement, I explained that proverb. After that, researching and treating diseases is too expensive. So it would be better to invest in preventative measures. So according to that statement, it is better to invest in preventative measures because researching and treating diseases is very expensive. Instead of waiting until the diseases have happened, we should try and prevent them. That is what this statement is arguing. To what extent do you agree? Do you agree 100%? Do you disagree 100%? Or do you agree and disagree? I explained more about that in the introduction, in the thesis statement, because in the thesis statement, that is where you're supposed to answer the question that IELTS has asked you directly. To what extent do you agree? And in that lesson, I explained the 3 options that you have of answering that question. So feel free to have a look at the video on how to write the introduction so that you know how to do that. So once you have written the introduction, then the next thing that you need to do is to write body paragraph 2. Remember, your IELTS writing task 1 should only have 4 paragraphs. You have 40 minutes. Write the introduction, then write body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and the conclusion. That's 4 paragraphs. So what should you put in body paragraph 2? In body paragraph 2, I have been asked to what extent do I agree with that statement. So in my introduction, I made it very clear that I agree with this statement 100%. So in body paragraph 2, I'm going to write about that because this statement has 2 sides to it. You can agree with the statement that researching and treating diseases is too expensive, so it would be better to invest in preventative measures. Or you can disagree with it. But whether you agree or disagree, you have to write a body paragraph in which you agree with a statement and another body paragraph where you disagree with a statement and then your conclusion. So when you ask to what extent do you agree, you are still expected to write 2 paragraphs. And in one of the paragraphs, you agree with the opinion of the statement. And in the other paragraph, you're supposed to write about the other point of view, which you do not agree with. So at the end of the day, in your essay, you have to write about the 2 different types of points of view. Body paragraph 2, agree. Body paragraph 3, disagree. But make it very clear in which paragraph you agree with the opinion. So in body paragraph 2, I am going to agree with it because in my introduction, I made it very clear that I agree with this statement. So I'm going to give some points to prove that. I'm going to begin body paragraph 2 by saying, I am of the opinion that, because remember I've been asked to what extent do I agree. I am of the opinion that it would certainly be much better to invest money in a bid to try and prevent diseases in the first place than carrying out investigative research on these diseases and treating them. So I am agreeing with this statement. After I have said I am of the opinion that, then I explain what it is that I agree with. I am of the opinion that it would certainly be much better to invest money in a bid to try and prevent diseases in the first place than carrying out investigative research on these diseases and treating them. And that is exactly what this statement says, that researching and treating diseases is too expensive. So it would be better to invest in preventative measures. So once I have written I am of the opinion that, then I rewrite IELTS statement in my own words to make sure that I reflect the same opinion. I am of the opinion that it would certainly be much better to invest money in a bid to try and prevent diseases. So I agree that it is better to invest money trying to prevent diseases than carrying out investigative research on these diseases and treating them. And that is exactly the same opinion as in IELTS statement. After that, I'm going to give my reasons. I introduce the first reason. This is due to the fact that, so I'm about to give my first reason to support my opinion. This is due to the fact that medical research requires a lot of equipment and expertise over a long period of time, which demands billions to fund. So that is my first reason as to why I believe very strongly that it is better to invest in preventative measures than to try and wait until the diseases have happened and then we do research and treat them. The reason is medical research requires a lot of equipment and expertise over a long period of time. And that demands billions to fund. So you need a lot of money to carry out medical research because it requires a lot of equipment and expertise. And it takes place, it takes quite some time, over a long period of time, and that demands billions to fund. That is my first point. Then my second point to support my opinion, I introduce it with a second connector. In addition to that, or linking word, in addition to that, comma, the purchase of medicine for different treatment procedures such as radiation and chemotherapy for cancer patients is very costly. So that is my second reason as to why I think it is better to invest in preventative measures. Because purchasing or buying of medicine for different treatment procedures is very costly. And then I gave an example, for example, for chemotherapy, for radiation and chemotherapy for cancer patients. So far I have given 2 points to support my opinion, and I have elaborated them. And now I'm going to move on to my third point. The medical personnel who render those services, for example, specialist doctors and nurses, do also demand high salaries. So that is my third reason to support my opinion. The medical personnel who render or give, remember this is a Band 9 essay, so I have used a lot of Band 9 vocabulary. The medical personnel who render or who give those services, for example, specialist doctors and nurses, they also demand very high salaries. So because of those 3 reasons that I have given, I strongly believe that researching and treating diseases is too expensive. So it would be better to invest in preventative measures. It is better to prevent than to treat. So that is what you should do in body paragraph 2. Write about the first opinion where you agree. And then in body paragraph 2, I am going to write about the other opinion which I do not share, but there are people who share that opinion. So in body paragraph 2, I agree in body paragraph 3, I disagree, but it's not my opinion. So I make it very clear that body paragraph 2, that is my opinion, but body paragraph 3 is not my opinion. But there are people who share or who have that opinion. So you begin writing body paragraph 3 with making it very clear that you are going to be talking about the other side of the argument. On the other hand, some are of the view that it would be cheaper to spend money researching and treating diseases than using that money to try and prevent them in the first instance. So remember, there are people who have the other opinion that you don't agree with. You are expected to write about that group of people and give the reasons that they have to support their opinion. So on the other hand, some are of the view that it would be cheaper to spend money researching and treating diseases than using that money to try and prevent them in the first place. After that, you should give reasons as to why they believe that. This is because, in their opinion, you see, I have put in their opinion, so it's not my opinion. In body paragraph 2, I began with I am of the opinion. But in body paragraph 3, I'm making it very clear it's not my opinion. I don't agree with it. So this is because in their opinion, it is through research that medics are able to find suitable treatments for various diseases. And although this is very costly, it is worth it because it helps them to save lives. So people who believe that we should spend more money researching and treating diseases instead of investing money in preventative measures, they have different reasons. And the first reason that I have given is that they argue that it is through research, it is through medical research that medics are doctors, are able to find suitable treatments for various diseases. That is the first point. And although it is very costly, they argue that it is worth it because it helps to save lives. That is the first point to support that second point of view. After that, I introduce the second idea to support that point of view. I use the linking word moreover. They do argue that not all diseases are expensive to treat, for instance, common colds, headaches, and stomach aches. So that is the second argument that they give. They say that we should invest a lot of money in research and treating diseases instead of trying to invest money in preventative measures, because not all diseases are expensive to treat. For example, common colds, headaches, and stomach aches. So that is the second point that I have given that supports the second opinion. And then I move on to the third point. Also, I use the linking word also. Once they have found a cure through carrying out medical investigations and tests, it becomes cheaper to purchase this medication in the long run as medics discover new ways and formulations to manufacture the drugs. So the third reason that people give to support their opinion when they say that we should invest all our money in researching and treating diseases instead of preventative measures is that once they have found a cure through carrying out medical investigations and tests, it becomes cheaper to purchase this medication in the long run as medics discover new ways and formulations to manufacture the drugs. So yes, at the beginning, it costs a lot of money to do the research, to find out the drugs, but once they have found them, then in the long run, it is cheaper to buy that medicine as medics discover new ways and formulations to manufacture those drugs. So that's how you write body paragraph 3. So body paragraph 2, you agree with it. In body paragraph 3, you disagree with it. In body paragraph 2, you agree with it and give your opinions and give some points to support your opinion. Body paragraph 3, disagree with it and give points to support your opinion. Make sure that you make your opinion very clear, to what extent. So, do you agree? Which opinion do you share? Do you totally agree with the statement or do you not agree with it? Make it very clear. For example, you can see I did that at the beginning of body paragraph 2. I am of the opinion that. So, I agree with the statement. And then I gave points to support my opinion. In body paragraph 3, I made it very clear that I am discussing the other side of the coin, the other side of the argument. For people who do not share my opinion, for people who disagree with my opinion. So on the other hand, and then remember to make it very clear that it's not your opinion. This is because in their opinion, and then give reasons as to why people have that point of view. And then once you have done that, you write your conclusion. Now, what do you write in your conclusion? In your conclusion, you're supposed to reiterate or repeat your personal opinion, and then very briefly, you explain why based on your arguments in body paragraph 2. So, despite these counter-arguments, despite the arguments, the counter-arguments are arguments that are opposite to what I believe in. I've just discussed them in body paragraph 3. So despite these, plural, so despite all the counter-arguments in body paragraph 3, I still strongly believe that we would save a lot of money if we focused on finding ways to prevent diseases instead of investing all our medical funds in the research and treatment of illnesses and disorders. So you notice that I begin the conclusion with the words, despite these counter-arguments. Because remember, you are going to be marked for coherence. So you want to make sure that your ideas are connected, your paragraphs are connected to each other. So when I say, despite these counter-arguments, I am connecting my conclusion to body paragraph 3. Because in body paragraph 3, I discussed points that I don't agree with. That's why I'm using counter-arguments. So despite these counter-arguments, I strongly believe that. So I am reiterating my opinion. I still strongly believe that. And then explain what you believe in. I still strongly believe that we would save a lot more money if we focused on finding ways to prevent diseases instead of investing all our medical funds in the research and treatment of illnesses and disorders. So your conclusion should be the same as your thesis statement that you wrote in your introduction. The ideas that you have in your conclusion should match the ideas that you have in your thesis statement in your introduction. Because in your thesis statement, that is where you answer IELTS question directly. To what extent do you agree? So despite these counter-arguments, despite all the arguments against my opinion in body paragraph 3, I still strongly believe that we would save a lot of money if we focused on finding ways to prevent diseases instead of investing all our medical funds in the research and treatment of illnesses and disorders. So I still very strongly believe that we would save a lot of money if we focused on finding ways to prevent diseases instead of waiting until people are sick and then we start doing research and treating those diseases. Now, this brings me to the last section of this lesson, where I'm going to give you a few tips just to ensure that you understand this essay correctly. The very first thing that is important is read the question. Make sure you understand the question very well. After that, write your introduction. Once you have written your background statement and your thesis statement in your introduction, then write body paragraph 2. In body paragraph 2, agree with the statement. In body paragraph 3, disagree with the statement. In the conclusion, repeat your personal opinion and then explain why. In body paragraph 2, I have agreed with the statement. I make sure that you introduce your body paragraph 2 with the words, I am of the opinion that, or I am of the view that, because that answers the question, to what extent do you agree? After that, give some points to support your answer. Introduce your points using the correct linking words. In body paragraph 2, I have underlined for you the linking words that I used. This is due to the fact that is my first point. The second point, I introduced it using in addition to that. The third point, I introduced it using also. And to give the examples, I use linking words such as, for example. Then body paragraph 3, make it very clear that you are discussing the other point of view. So begin with, on the other hand. After that, give the points of view, give some points to support that other point of view. Give some points. Introduce the points using linking words. The first point I introduced it using the linking words. This is because. And then I use other linking words such as although, because, moreover, also, and. And then in your conclusion, begin with despite these counter arguments, to ensure that there is a link between your conclusion and body paragraph 3. And then I write, I still strongly believe that, and then explain what you believe in based on the opinion that you took in the essay, whether you agreed or disagreed. Now, that's how you write the main body and the conclusion of this essay. The other thing that is very important is to make sure that you use the vocabulary that is suitable for the question. We are talking about research and treatment of diseases. We're talking about medicine here. So I have used the vocabulary that is suitable for that. Okay? So make sure that you do that. If you look at body paragraph 2, okay, invest money, try and prevent diseases, carry out investigative research, treatment, okay, equipment, expertise, funding, treatment procedures, radiation, chemotherapy, cancer patients, medical personnel, specialist doctors, nurses, high salaries. And then in body paragraph 3, you have vocabulary such as cheaper, spend money researching, treating diseases, preventing them, suitable treatments, costly, save lives, expensive to treat, common colds, headaches, stomachache, a cure, medical investigations and tests, patches, medication, medics, formulations, manufacture, drugs. So all these is vocabulary that is related to medicine. And then in the conclusion, I have used focused, investing, medical funds, illnesses, disorders. Now, the last tip that is very important is that if you want to get a band 8 or a band 9, you have to use you have to use a lot of complex sentences. We have three different types of sentences in English. We have simple, compound, and complex. A simple sentence has one verb. A compound sentence has two verbs, and a complex sentence has two or more verbs. So a compound sentence has one linking word. A complex sentence has two or more linking words. If you want to know more about how to write simple, complex, and compound sentences, have a look at my videos. You will find a video about the three different types of sentences in English. Now, for the sake of this lesson, if you look at the first sentence, I am of the opinion that it would certainly be much better to invest money in a bit to try and prevent diseases in the first place than carrying out investigative research on these diseases and treating them. That is a complex sentence. This is due to the fact that medical research requires a lot of equipment and expertise over a long period of time, which demands billions of funds. Another complex sentence. In addition to that, the purchase of medicine for different treatment procedures such as radiation and chemotherapy for cancer patients is very costly. Another complex sentence. The medical personnel who render those services, for example, specialist doctors and nurses, do also demand high salaries. That is also a complex sentence. And if you look at body paragraph 3, almost all the sentences that I have there are complex sentences. On the other hand, some are of the view that it would be cheaper to spend money on researching and treating diseases than using that money to try and prevent them in the first instance. Complex sentence. This is because, in their opinion, it is through research that medics are able to find suitable treatments for various diseases, and although this is very costly, it is worth it because it helps them to save lives. Another complex sentence. Moreover, they do argue that not all diseases are expensive to treat. For instance, common colds, headaches, and stomachaches. Complex sentence. Also, once they have found a cure through carrying out medical investigations and tests, it becomes cheaper to purchase this medication in the long run as medics discover new ways and formulations to manufacture the drugs. Another complex sentence. And then in the conclusion, despite these counter-arguments, I still strongly believe that we would save a lot of money if we focused on finding ways to prevent diseases instead of investing all our medical funds in the research and treatment of illnesses and disorders. That is also a complex sentence. So this is a Band 9 essay. That is why I have used a lot of complex sentences. Now, if you found this lesson helpful at all, if you have learned something new, then you know what to do. Please give this video a thumbs up, share this video on all your social media platforms, and do not forget to subscribe and turn your notification bell on because I will be uploading a lot of videos on IELTS writing task 2 for the academic and the general training students. So if you want me to continue uploading more videos on IELTS writing task 2, then give me a thumbs up and then I will know that I should do it. Okay? Now, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.